How do you manage to leave work at work? I'm about 4 years into a mechanical engineering career, and I'm struggling to walk away at the end of the day and not keep working on it in my head all night. Part of it is that I know what the next step is and can execute it to a point that I just need to write it down in the morning. The other part is that I'm afraid that I'll forget what that next step is unless I just knock it out, if I write down what the next step is before I leave. What are your tricks for being able to walk away from work? So I'll give a little quick answer, and then I'll hand over to you, Luke. So I kind of use the last thing that I do before I leave work every single day, and this is my activity that I do before I shut down, is I kind of do a debrief on my day, the things that I've accomplished that day, and so that way I can effectively remember what I did and explain it to anybody else if anybody else has any questions. And then I also do a notes, like say, here's the things that need to get done tomorrow, and kind of give myself the notes that I need to frame things up. And that's my last activity of the day. I frame in a little bit of time at the end of the day before I shut down that I actively focus on planning for my next day and what else I need to do by the end of that week and all my other upcoming deliverables. That's the last activity I do every day is planning what I'm going to do the next day, so that way I can kind of step away from work. What do you do, Luke?
Yeah, I mean, I think I think you just have to kind of one come up with a process like what you're talking about, Daniel. I think you have to come up with a process that allows you to leave work at work. But
Yeah,
the other thing too is that I think you need to kind of get into the mental headspace of saying, hey, like work is done for the day. There's nothing else that I can do.
hmm,
And just accept that, like whatever wasn't done for the day, it'll get done tomorrow, right? And I mean that's the
yeah,
biggest thing. Um, because if you're continuously thinking about it all day, I mean, like how much of that is going to cut into your personal life? If you're out with, because I mean, like, what happens if you have plans after work, right? Like, what happens if you're going out to get a drink with a buddy of yours, and like you stop thinking about work, and then all of a sudden you come back in the next day, or you go back to you go back to your place, and you're getting ready, to go to sleep and start the next day. What happens if you
yeah,
can't remember it then, right? Like you're putting
yeah,
yourself in a situation where you could potentially not be successful just for the fact that you're not constantly thinking about work all the time. So I think you need to try and find that balance and try and, look at things and say, hey, like work is paying me for, 40 hours a week. That's the expectation, 40, 45, 50, whatever the expectation is. And so like I'm gonna do that and do my part to do 40 hours. They're not asking for my life. They're not asking for this constant thought process throughout the day and constantly being feeling like I'm at work and on the job and thinking about ways to fix solutions. Leave that stuff at work, and I think a lot of it is just you've got to you've got to take that mental step and that get into that headspace of saying, hey, I'm leaving work, we're leaving that at home. We're leaving that there. I'm coming home, and I'm not going to think about it anymore.
yeah. And I think that along with the mindset thing, the way that I describe it is that you get to work, right? You start your work at a certain time of the day, a certain time of the each you go to work on certain dates. That is whenever you go to work because you're prioritizing that time as that is work time. So you're going to go to work that day, and you're going to go to work from those hours. You're going to be at work at least that time, uh, because you schedule it and you prioritize it, and you have to schedule your personal time the same way. You have to treat it like that is the time that you have as personal time, and you're going to prioritize it as such, and you're going to uh, cut off time, just like how you cut off time in the morning to go drive to work. You're going to cut off time at the end of the day to drive home. That is your activity. That is your planned thing. Your planned time is not working, and that's the thing, is that work time is time that is scheduled, right? And we don't have necessarily the same perception. Some people don't have that perception about their personal time, but their personal time, that is a scheduled time of the day that you're no longer working, and treating it like that will help you kind of prioritize that. And I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world because I bring work home all the time, but um, that is what I try to do. I'm not perfect, but that is what I try to do.
Yeah, Yeah, I think we all tend to fall into this trap of work kind of bleeding over into our personal lives. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just trying to get into that headspace of saying, "Hey, like, we're done, right?" So like, if you have to take, you know, an extra hour of your workday remembering that solution or coming back to that conclusion of whatever you're trying to work on, then that's time allocated towards what that is anyway. So take that time during your work days to do it.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Engineering Success Podcast. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. All of your comments create extra reach so that more people can watch the
Arrangements, they
podcast.
heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify, they put me on the station.